Welcome to the Broken Pencil Booking Company Pro Wrestling Podcast infused with hip hop. I am Wood.
Made daily with organic, farm to table, localized, neuralized, sterilized, Scotch guarded for 2020 repellent, available online, shipped via Amazon, not available on Sundays, Broken Pencil Logic. You stay classy, internet. I'm Suave Burgundy. Again, there have been no checks cut, so we're going to have to go ahead and update that. Please bear with us as we are having technical difficulties with the pre-recorded triggers.
Speaking of checks cut, let's get this out the way early.
All right.
This tournament special has been brought to you by the good people at Sorwin Vega Pro Audio, SorwinVega.com. Shouts out to Gary, shouts out to Henry, Los Angeles, California for all of your pro audio needs. Yeah, you see, you know what it is. You know what it is. Also, the good people at Vida Hermosa Cigars. VitaHermosaCigars.com coming soon. Vida Hermosa is a beautiful life. Suave, what's happening?
Enjoying a beautiful life, to be perfectly honest with you. So, I mean, if I was an avid smoker, I would be firing up a Vida Hermosa during this episode.
But you have some limited editions over there yourself from last.
I do, but I don't need people all in my business like that.
Sir, happy IMOC, happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The good Lord saw fit to let me make another trip around the sun.
As we embark on another season of the Broken Pencil Booking Company Pro Wrestling Podcast infused with hip hop, you already know what IMOC is. The International Month of Cool, the birth month of my co-host, Mr. Suave Burgundy.
Amen.
We do this at a very high level.
And it's also anniversary season for the show.
Not many shows have lasted as long as we have. Definitely not as many years and definitely not as much content.
0 fist fights.
There's been some verbal sparring, but nothing that has that requires the assistance of a mediator.
I look at that like this. If the figure is true that 60% of the country's population can't read above a 6th grade level, that gives you 40% to interact with to have an even remotely intelligent conversation. Then you start sectioning us off by all the things that we're into and that we're not into. We have a very small sample size of people that you're actually going to interact with. At some point, you will have to iron out differences in opinion. I don't log those into the argument folder. I log those into like healthy dialogue to become more civilized human beings to each other.
Boy, you saying whole words over there. You sound like you coming straight out of the Scott Steiner School of Mathematics.
123% chance I ball out this IMOC.
On your ass. You big.
Look, by the time they hear this, I ought to be on my way driving somewhere to get something fantastic to eat.
You did.
You feel me? Look, shout out to the EWAF gang. Los done already hit me up and say, go eat some bougie. I told him, hey, all month long.
As you should.
If you have restaurant recommendations in the greater Metroplex area, this is the one time I will open my channels of communication to receive any suggestions that you may have. Just know, if you send me somewhere that is trash, you are exiled from ever giving me any sort of advice or recommendation ever again.
Just remember, it takes 10 attaboys to remove one R.
That's Steiner math. I love it. It takes 10 attaboys to offset one R. I like that. Let's keep that. Sew it in.
And there it is. This is your greatest heel turns ever tournament. Backstabbers, as you can see up at the top corner here.
They smiling in your face all the time. They want to take your place. Backstabbers.
Backstabbers.
Shout out to Shout out to Martin Lawrence, who, you know, if you know, you know. If you know. Watch the show, you up to speed.
Man, this whole conversation comes from the internet acting an ass over what we have deemed to be prisoners of the moment.
Yet another prisoner of the moment move, and this particular generation who is operating on social media has a vendetta against all wrestling that happened before they started watching.
And there was some greatness before they started watching, but because it exists in a time capsule, it never existed.
And the people that saw it, a lot of them are very obnoxious about proclaiming that prior period is superior to this current period. So the cause and effect of that is newer fans are always looking for an opportunity to crown something the best or the greatest ever, just to take a squat on everything that came before it.
Now, if you really think you outside with it, we've been doing You Know Who Ain't Gonna Win early since we were knee high to a tadpole, as the great Earl Stevens would say. And we've had some great shows. We've had some bad predictions. We've had some bets won. We've had some bets lost.
Facts.
None greater than the You Know Who Ain't Gonna Win for Elimination Chamber 2025, where in a passing, fleeting moment, we decided to do what we always do: book on the fly, apply a little bit of broken pencil logic, slice it off, put it on your plate.
Indeed.
And while the rest of the world were surprised, we're sitting back Barry Horowitzing,
patting ourselves on the back for absolutely walking the dog on this whole scenario. Shout out to Ramon of the Urban Advocate, who put together a fantastic, phenomenal recap video that explains exactly what we went through and what we did. It is available on all of our social platforms, which would be
Broken Pencil BC on everything. So that's first of all, we're going to miss something. We're not perfect. We're human. We're going to miss something.
Well, half man, half amazing, but go ahead.
99.9% ain't 100, but we pretty damn close. Show at brokenpencilbc.com, brokenpencilbc@gmail.com. That's at brokenpencilbc on all things social, whether we're active or not on them, because there's some things that we you know, but you can find us at brokenpencilbc on what?
Everything and everything.
There we go. Now, that said,
yeah,
I'm anxious for this one. We've already got the kitty preloaded.
Indeed, we do.
It's about time that we load up the clip. You ready?
All right. So we're gonna do something special for you guys, because we've been in the tech support gym. We've been in the gym putting shots up for tech support. So now it's tournament season, right? This is the month of March Madness tournament season. So we bring you this. Bing bong! Look at it right there in your face. You can see the bracket as we walk down the tournament. You can see the entries. Hey, we do this for you. We do this so that our viewers on Twitch and Instagram Live and Facebook Live and YouTube and all the various places that this show is streamed and watched, that experience can be awesome while it is still phenomenal for those listening via audio.
All AJ. Now, I really like this because this is our first time seeing the bracket. We put the participants in here. It's our first time seeing the bracket. Couple of joints got missed. We'll talk about those as the tournament goes along.
Indeed.
But this is our top 16. It's a single elimination tournament, completely randomized. We threw them in. This is how they come out. We talk.
If you don't agree with the decision we make, feel free to go off in the comments. But look, referee's decision is final.
This was as simple as it get. Long-term impact, reaction in the moment, and after the fact, and impact to the business. Those are the criteria.
Indeed, we coin flipping on all disputes.
Let's hope that we don't have to do a coin flip.
I mean, because our other option is rock, paper, scissors, and we've seen how that goes.
Yeah, that's a first class. That's a show, and it's not a BPBC show. It's a different kind of show.
You see what I'm saying?
So with no further ado, let's take up to the first matchup.
Run it.
WrestleMania X7, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock, with Mr. McMahon as a special guest referee. Versus I didn't even see this one. Hollywood Hulk Hogan is born. The only person who seemed to know that this was about to happen was Bobby Heenan, and if you were paying attention to the commentary, he literally told you what was about to happen before it happened. And this begat the NWO. At least the first three members with the turn of who we call Good Try Terry.
And of course we know about this particular individual's community standing. We do not take that into account when we are executing the results of this tournament. We can separate church and state.
At this point in the game, 1996, Good Try Terry, by all accounts, was heralded as the man who kept professional wrestling in business across the globe. He was the man who was responsible for transforming the business on a global scale financially.
Had he gone home to stay in 95?
This doesn't happen.
That part. Also, I think he might have a different legacy if he had just gone home to stay.
On the flip side, the most popular, highest grossing merchandise sales in the modern era at this time belonged to the two individuals who were in the match at WrestleMania X7 in the main event, Stone Cold and The Rock. And Stone Cold aligning with Mr. McMahon in this match was one of the moments we've talked about before, and people across the wrestling, internet wrestling community have talked about that. If he did what was talked about that could have been done, how much different wrestling may have been, or how this heel turn would have looked in the annals of history. Which was, and what I'm talking about is when Mr. McMahon raised Stone Cold's hand and made Stone Cold the corporate champion, Stone Cold was to turn around and stun Mr. McMahon.
Had that taken place, you would have essentially been back to square one. Austin would have been almost instantly forgiven for whatever he did to The Rock. Because they've both been in those situations before where you basically just look at it like, okay, two guys fought. Siding with McMahon was, I guess it's the last thing that you had to do. Because it's been a never ending cycle of McMahon bringing new challenger after new challenger after new challenger, finding ways for them to fight amongst each other. Now, truth be told, you probably could have done it another 2 years, just because. I mean, it's a formula that doesn't age out if you take advantage of the opportunities to like let somebody go home for a little bit, somebody go shoot a movie. Like, you put some space and some distance between things, but Tom and Jerry never stop beefing.
And when you have chemistry, it sells every time. Right. No matter what it looks like, it sells every time.
But the story that I've always heard and what we have, as a public and an audience, have been told is Austin wanted to try being a heel. McMahon felt like he owed it to him to let him try it based on how how much, he's meant to the company up until that point. So they tried it. It got the reaction it got.
And the best the best thing we got out of it, which now gets on my damn nerves, is the what chant.
Then there's that. So to your point, if Austin stuns McMahon after the match, you don't get the what chance. Chances are you probably don't end up in a situation where Austin walks out when it's time to
do favors to Brock Lesnar.
Right. They probably would have done better business. It wouldn't be a situation where Austin was trying to qualify for King of the Ring. Austin Lesnar probably would have been the main event of SummerSlam 2002. Just keeping it G. So,
and mind you, this is rookie Brock Lesnar in WWE at the time,
right?
Who came in with Randy Orton, John Cena, Shelton Benjamin, and Dave Bautista.
Right. So keep in mind, after this turn, you only get another 3 years of active Austin, and part of that is like 6 to 8 months where he went home and said, "I'm not dealing with y'all." So you got to walk out, and then, yeah, literally at X7, you got 2 more WrestleManias out of him after that. Everything else is spot performances. Him as Sheriff of Raw, and we're literally at the end of in-ring competition.
And no more title runs after that either.
None. So I feel like you probably pulled the plug on the cash cow a little too early.
Meanwhile,
I say all that to say NWO. That's who I'm picking.
There's a lot more layers to this onion with NWO, which we'll discuss later in this episode.
It's pre widespread internet. There is internet in 1996, but it's not to the extent that it was in 2001 and beyond.
It's the end of the newsletter as we know it, and then the 900 numbers are dying out.
Call the hotline.
Call the hotline.
Mean Gene out here slanging hotline minutes like girl 6.
As we fast forward, next up, 1996, 1997, Bret Hart versus everyone except for Canada.
Yeah, buddy, Bret versus the world is a big deal.
And not just Bret versus the world. Bret, Jim, Owen, and Bulldog, and Brian Pillman.
The New Heart Foundation.
Versus a New Day for the New Day, which is New Day on their 10th anniversary on Monday Night Raw, reading Big E the Riot Act for abandoning them after being injured with a life-threatening injury at the time. What we got out of the New Day since then has been true hero work, true superhero work. Whereas as a villain, you're really the real hero. All they're doing is telling you the truth, the things that you don't want to hear, the things that are uncomfortable to hear. You're getting that. But quality wins. They haven't even had a tag team title match since this happened. Meanwhile, Bret Hart had he had 2 world title runs. Owen Hart had an Intercontinental title run. I'm not sure, was the European title around at that time?
It shows up at the formation of DX, which is, they're all kind of in the same space, like they happen within the same calendar year. I don't necessarily think we had moved into full Hart Foundation situation.
Okay. Either way, you have Owen Hart, who beat his brother at a WrestleMania. You have British Bulldog, who beat Bret Hart at SummerSlam
92
for the Intercontinental Championship.
Put it in Wembley.
Multi-time tag team champion there too.
He won everything but the big one. Pause.
Jim the Anvil Neidhart, multi-time tag team champion. And
greatest goatee in wrestling.
And anywhere they went in America, boos. Anywhere they went outside of America, not named Canada, boos. The reason why Canada acts the way they act now, when WWE is there, including at WrestleMania in 2005, was because of what happened, or 2004 rather, is because of what happened with the new Hart Foundation in 97 and 98.
And now what I will say is that at first it was just Canada who cheered and everyone else booed. When Brett started listing off some of the things as to why he can't stand America, the rest of the world started to join in. You
start paying attention when things get real or seem or appear to be real.
So they became international players based on the execution of this particular story. My issue with the New Day situation is what I thought it was going to be from the very jump. You pulled the pin on this grenade, and then you just held it. And it turns out the grenade's not even
loaded.
It's good. You didn't throw the grenade, but you're holding it, and nothing's happening. Like, they're not getting wins. They are getting booed. They're putting the effort in. They got new clothes. They got a new approach. They got new entrance music.
They got a new day. That's pretty much it. And shouts out to Mega Ran too for the music.
Facts. Which we still got to chop it up with him about that.
Schedules, man. Schedules. He coming.
Schedules. It's WrestleMania season.
Absolutely.
But this tree has bared no fruit as of yet. So we're still waiting on a payoff. I'm taking the Hart Foundation.
Absolutely. Not even close. The impact was felt much longer because Brett kept the same character even when he went to WCW. Triple H and HBK was at 2002.
Yes.
Versus The Rock in 1998 as the corporate champion. Suave, this is your wheelhouse right here.
So look, 2002 is a very pivotal time in WWE watching. They are now the only game in town. unless you're still
ECW's gone.
They're gone.
TNA is on the brink of popping up weekly on pay-per-view only. WCW gobbled up by WWF or WWE.
But very much so. So they're still riding the wave of the Attitude Era, but it's very much they're the only game in town. So if you're still going to be watching wrestling, you're only going to one place. However, you do have a group and a core as far as what your talent roster is that is loaded. HBK, obviously, for those who are in the know, 1998. WrestleMania 14 was his last appearance.
Lost a smile, went home.
Yeah, lost his smile, broke his back, spinal. Went home, healed up, sobered up, found the Lord, and came back. Well, in the midst of that coming back, thought we were going to get a DX reunion. We thought it was going to be,
rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah, rainbows, lollipops, and sunshine, lollipops, rainbows everywhere. That's the song from The Simpsons. We obviously didn't get that because Triple H was well on his way to earning his Cerebral Assassin badge. Turned on Michaels, which led to a year-long feud. It led to Shawn Michaels coming back for SummerSlam 2002 in a very, very, very dope return match, street fight, because it wasn't a full situation.
And this is old school street fight. They're both wearing jeans and boots.
You see what I'm saying? Well, Trips was in Trips
Trips gear. He was in the Northeast gear, but Shawn Michaels was definitely in his Texas gear.
Yeah, he jeans, a wife beater, a belt buckle, and cowboy boots. and I was entertained. And then you got to the end, and you were still doing Attitude Era-esque stuff. So then you had the situation in the business with the sledgehammer afterwards. Like, it begot a lot of good content. That heel turn led to a lot of good content. So that's the SummerSlam match that leads into the first Elimination Chamber match, which leads into Michaels with a world title run, which also leads into the Armageddon 2 out of 3 falls situation, 3 stages of hell. So you got a lot of great wrestling out of it.
Meanwhile,
then there's 1998.
Yeah. we got Bret Hart leaving WWE and we'll for WCW, and we'll get into that later on because that's on here.
Yeah, he out of there. He's been gone for a year.
The corporation is in full swing.
Facts.
And I can really land this plane with what I'm about to say here about Rock in '98.
Shoot your shot.
This is if Rock's career, if 1998 was his infancy, what you saw in 1998 was the infant version of what you see right now as the final boss.
98 was the year that The Rock really came into his own as far as an on-screen character. He started shining above everything that was going on in the Nation of Domination. He starts to split off. At some point, he became an organic face just because of how entertaining he was. Then, operating in that organic face stratosphere, he ends up having the heel turn where no one really expected it, which, again, pre-2000, it was a lot easier to keep a secret long enough to execute a plan on pay-per-view.
Especially going against WCW, who was in the middle of 83 weeks.
That part. So this is a part of what changed the momentum on 83 weeks. Things like this. So The Rock joining the corporation, which goes on to set up Rock Austin 1 at WrestleMania 15, which that's got the ball rolling on getting the money. By the time we get to WrestleMania 15, them 83 weeks is over with, and they don't look back.
Off to the races.
So we have these conversations a lot about how much, The Rock actually means to the bottom line of WWE. Let's keep it G.
It started here.
Austin brought in not only the casual fan, but the hardcore fan, sold a whole lot of t-shirts. But everybody needs a nemesis. And if The Rock is not there to carry that mantle, how much money does Austin really make? Some might say you could have done it with Triple H. I don't think it's to the same effect.
And back then, everybody was selling merch. Everybody was selling merch. I don't care if you were Mark Merrow. I don't care if you were The Rock. I don't care if you were Val Venus.
If you had a shirt, it was getting bought.
It was getting bought. Straight up.
Speaking of which, Mark Merrow should have been selling boxing robes. You imagine how much they would have paid for a Mark Merrow TKO robe?
Gloves. Like, just...
Them glasses, that goofy hat. Man, listen. The merchandising department, they be getting to it, but every now and again, they sleep on something. If you retroed that, I'd get one.
Bam. There you go. And he's actually about to go on another run right now. Speaking of Mark Merrow, he just released memoirs, or about to release some memoirs.
Shout out to Mark Merrow.
Yeah, I don't want to read some of them Jones, but that would be a good book to read for the Broken Pencil Book Club. That said, I got Rock in '98.
I'm with you.
There it is. All right, 1988. Ooh yeah, Hogan.
This is tough right here.
A marriage that you did not expect to see between two megastars in WWF get into a tizzy over Randy Savage's real life wife.
Not gonna hold you on this. This is the culmination of probably one of the best 3-year stretches of WrestleManias ever. You have the air quotes 93,000 in the Silver Dome. Then you backdoor that with a tournament crowning Randy Savage, and then a year later facing the champion that had the title last. Well, unless you count Andre, but
and Ted, you don't forget Ted DiBiase.
like the stories actually connected for 3 years and did incredible business.
How about this, Wav? That 3 years worth of business that these two did led to Ric Flair entering the Royal Rumble at number 2 and winning the belt in the first ever Royal Rumble for the title in 92. These two did that, and Flair benefited.
Indeed, and you have that speed bump that is the Ultimate Warrior, and it subsequently went into another person that is on this list that we'll see soon. So yeah, all of this stuff, it connects, and let's keep it real. The way it was executed back then, because one, you could absolutely hide the truth from a lot of people.
Yep.
2, nobody was concerned with air quotes dirt sheets unless you were like vinyl collector level deep in the game.
Vinyl collector, tape trader, mad because someone didn't send you what you sent out.
See what I'm saying? And then there's just the level of entertainment to it, because you're not watching it really picking things apart. You're watching it to be entertained. That story is as old as dirt and black pepper, and it worked. And Savage made it work even better because of how good he was, and just enjoy you an adult beverage or some adult candy and then watch Savage get busy during that whole time, and I guarantee you'll be thoroughly entertained.
There will never be another character with a woman on his side as egregious and as domestically violent as Randy Savage was towards Elizabeth during this stretch.
Yikes.
That said, what I'm about to say sounds blasphemous, right?
Okay.
But again, this tournament's randomized. The Freebirds turning on Kerry Von Erich. Now, a lot of people don't even realize that the Freebirds were on the side of Kerry Von Erich when they first joined World Class Championship Wrestling.
This is a deep cut for some of you people. Just
hold your head. All you know is that the Freebirds and the Von Erichs had one of the greatest rivalries in the history of pro wrestling.
If you'll jump on the cop, pause, and go look this stuff up, it'll be explained to you in great detail.
The plane landed on this one is the fact that Michael Hayes was a special enforcer in a cage match with Kerry Von Erich versus Ric Flair, who was the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. World Class was a NWA territory at the time.
Talk that talk.
On the outside is Terry Bam Bam Gordy, who's making his infancy appearances in Texas, but everybody knows he's friends with Michael Hayes.
Michael.
The epitome of a down south Georgia boy, and
that's draw you out.
As Kerry Von Erich's head was outside of the cage door, well, he actually was walking outside the cage. Terry Gordy slams the cage door on Kerry Von Erich's head
because Kerry Von Erich refused to take advantage of a downed Ric Flair to essentially
win the title,
world champion.
To win the title.
Michael Hayes is physically trying to make Kerry cover Ric Flair so that he can become champion.
And Kerry doesn't want to win it that way.
He wants to be an upstanding citizen. I don't know if that anyway.
So the impact to professional wrestling is there. Here's the problem going against the mega powers imploding or exploding, whatever the case may be. Suave, you said it best. Not one, not two, 3 WrestleManias. And in the back pocket, you can put a Royal Rumble. Or
you can put a whole nother company in with it because they beefed for the rest of their life.
In WCW.
Like those two had issues. Like this part, there was real life imitating art with some of that.
Randy Savage had a diss record on Hogan in 2003.
If you've never had the pleasure of seeing the Dark Side of the Ring episode about Macho Man and Elizabeth, watch it. It is very telling. A lot of what we saw on screen that was supposed to be air quotes make believe was a whole lot of life imitating art. Or art imitating life, however you would prefer to phrase it. All I know is it got real, even when it wasn't real.
And even though, like I said, that rivalry stood the test of time, you cannot compare the amount of money that 3 WrestleManias in a Royal Rumble would do, not to mention the rest of their careers in a different company had versus a rivalry that lasted 4 years in Texas.
If the Freebirds versus Von Erichs had done the money of 1 WrestleMania, the Sportatorium would still be up. It'd be renovated.
Texas Stadium might still be active.
Man. Come on.
Mega Powers for the win.
Flint, Michigan Mega Bowl.
Boy, oh man, this is these
matchups is crazy though. Like you got to make some tough decisions on here. You got to know your stuff.
We're making these first rounds seem real easy. The random pairings kind of went into the favor of us making it easy to decide on the first round so far. We're only halfway through the first round. By the time we get to these later rounds, it's going to get ugly.
Because what we just did on the previous bracket matchup, we're almost going to have to repeat that here just to come up with a winner. Because I could make a case for either one of these.
Montreal Screwjob begets Mr. McMahon as the character that started from him being booed in real life for what they did to the Cold Crush in Canada. Versus Sergeant Slaughter becoming an Iraqi sympathizer during Desert Storm.
So let me frame this.
Bruh.
So with the McMahon situation, Mr. McMahon, the Mr. McMahon character, is the antagonist for what becomes the biggest grossing world champion almost in history until Roman showed up. Like,
probably 2 of the biggest grossing world champions. This
is true. He is the antagonist for the greatest protagonist in the history of professional wrestling. I feel comfortable saying that. A Mount Rushmore performer, as far as WWE lore is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
If there's no Mr. McMahon, Stone Cold Steve Austin don't quite hit the same. It doesn't hit the ceiling like it did. It crashed through the ceiling, went into the clouds. People like Austin, but you gotta have somebody to hate.
If there's no Mr. McMahon, if there's no Mr. McMahon, there's arguably no HBK being known as Mr. WrestleMania.
There's a lot of stuff that doesn't happen without the Mr. McMahon character. So
DX doesn't happen without Mr. McMahon, the character.
That's part of what got the car out of the ditch. Like let's keep it G.
You're inhaling fumes.
Yeah, you done smashed the radiator. It could have been curtains for you, homeboy. But that against Sergeant Slaughter, and people who had never seen Sergeant Slaughter in his heyday before 1990-91 don't realize how influential and famous he was in his time.
Let's give a dichotomy of Sergeant Slaughter. He started off with his real name, Bob Remus. He becomes Sergeant Slaughter and even wrestles in WWF in the late 70s, early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
G.I. Joe begets a cartoon. It was action figure, cartoon, comic book, the whole 9 yards. Sergeant Slaughter is the real life G.I. Joe character brought to life. Not military, just his character is. And you know him as synonymous as you know Good Try Terry in WWE, but Sergeant Slaughter was in the AWA making a name for himself with Yo Joe as his tagline. That was his catchphrase, was Yo Joe. That's in order. Those two.
And of course, with most things, like the territory era was dying out, and you had a guy in New York who was all about pomp, circumstance, and putting on the biggest show possible. So Sergeant Slaughter ended up coming over. Obviously, in that situation, you're not going to be a bigger face than Good Try Terry.
Nope.
No matter how good you try. So they figured out a situation where let's turn this man heel, make him an Iraqi sympathizer. The only thing that kept this from being even bigger is that the country actually went to war soon thereafter.
Hold on. You repackage a former WWF champion. Matter of fact, the same former champion that was pinned by Hulk Hogan in the Iron Sheik, and call him Colonel Mustafa. You bring over Slaughter's biggest nemesis of a manager in Sheik Adnan LKC and make him Sergeant Slaughter's manager in WWF.
Boy, say if it didn't happen here, it didn't happen.
And Lord helped all three of them, because
the triangle of terror.
Slaughter putting on the Cobra Clutch on many a person during this time frame,
the curl toe boots,
and winning the title.
It made all the sense in the world, and the only reason they didn't sell out the LA Coliseum for WrestleMania 7 is because the country actually went to war, and the patriotism in this great nation at the time took it so serious that Sergeant Slaughter and family were receiving unalive threats.
And in the most military friendly state in the country, North Carolina. Boy.
So it got real. It got realer than real. And the effects of how real it got made it so it had to become a little more cartoonish than maybe they would have wanted. But you had to do something to kind of save your situation, because there were unalive threats, there were kaboom threats, and
in less than a year, Slaughter was back to being Slaughter and apologizing for what he did.
Yeah, they had to get him up out of there. He finished up his heel run, and then he's went back into
slowly faded away, went back into the abyss.
That part. So
good for him. Because for that reason, and the fact that we actually, lives lost, bless the dead, but we won Desert Storm.
A massively effective heel turn, a massively memorable heel turn.
Money maker, because people were coming to see him lose. But
money makers, go ahead.
It's only a money maker for the season of the heel turn. It's not a money maker for a decade and a half.
Yeah, it's a very, very, very brief period.
Actually, I'm sorry, 2 decades and a half. We're talking about Mr. McMahon as a character.
Then there's that. So I'm taking old Vincent Kennedy.
All right. Shawn Michaels finally decides to go solo.
Bro, these matchups make me sick. I'm just now looking at the bracket.
Super kicking Marty Jannetty through the barbershop window, courtesy of Brutus Beefcake.
Martin Jannetty
versus straight down the middle, daddy. Uncle Bill, referee Bill Alfonso, manager to the Stars, finally turns his back on one of his proteges, his prized pupils, Taz.
At ECW's first pay-per-view, barely legal. In the co-main event marquee match versus Sabu. This man says at the end of the match, he's berating Taz and admits that he had all his money on Sabu. To which the crowd, like, it's a cool explanation when you're suspending disbelief, but this is an ECW crowd, and this crowd is a little smarter than your traditional American wrestling crowd in 1997.
Because they're literally outside with the talent before, during, and after the show.
So they immediately heard and reacted to the conflict of interest and how ignorant that kind of was. Like, you sided with the guy that lost, but you were managing the guy that won, and you turned on him for absolutely no reason. But
there was no money made with that for Taz. However,
Zero.
the money was made with Sabu and Rob Van Dam with Bill Alfonso.
Eventually.
Forward. Yeah.
Eventually.
It wasn't immediate. No, it was about 2 years before it really started happening for them.
But since you mentioned that, if we're going to talk about making money, who made money after their heel turn was one Michael Hickenbottom, a.k.a. Shawn Michaels.
Boy.
Leather jacket and chest hair, pause, no shirt, all black. We finna get ready to get to this money.
We've seen Shawn Michaels get, like, just stampeded by Dr. Death. We've seen him get banked by the one-man gang. Just obliterated week after week on World Class and Mid-South Wrestling.
And that phrase gonna be forever funny to me.
And little known fact, HBK was wrestling in World Class before Texas Red, The Undertaker, was in World Class.
Mm-hmm.
But the career longevity, the amount of money that him becoming a single star made.
If you've ever seen the movie Kingpin, there is a term that comes from that movie called Munson. If you go watch the movie, you'll understand why. Munson. In the wrestling community, years after this took place, every tag team started to get judged by who is the Jannetty. Shawn Michaels took his heel turn and did so much business with it that he created a new term for a person who got left behind. I'm not doing nothing else with this. Barbershop
all day.
Sweet chin music and I won't pass the ox.
Here's a good one.
Juice,
that was a good one. Stephanie McMahon turns on her daddy in 1999.
Oh, I'm not even gonna waste time on this one.
Seth Rollins, upon a returning Roman Reigns, takes a chair and goes into business for himself.
You just beat Evolution for the second straight pay-per-view the night before. They pull the ripcord on you. Seth's a heel now, which begets you the greatest Money in the Bank cash in WWE history.
Absolutely. WrestleMania 31.
Begets the Authority. Also begets maybe the greatest RKO in WWE history.
So Seth takes the greatest RKO in WWE history at a WrestleMania. Completely is forgotten about.
And then
only to blow up the main event with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns to win the title.
And then you haven't had a better cash in since then.
Nah,
we're about to be 10 WrestleManias removed.
You've never interrupted the main event to do so since then.
That's also what makes it special. I mean, I don't think you've had anybody who would have fit the bill to do so.
We had Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns for 3 WrestleManias. I mean, that shows you how big that main event was.
That part.
Stephanie,
So,
it's been fun, but we ain't gonna talk about you.
We ain't don't waste no time. We here for a good time, not a long time.
Sid becomes Psycho. Another one with good Terry's involved.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure out. It sounds like we're rigging it, but we're gonna figure out how to get him out of here. He's just gonna be in the finals against himself.
Andre decides that he wants to go for the title against good Terry for WrestleMania 3. This is so. First off, Swab, please, just for the conversation's sake, explain Sid's significance into this tournament, because this matchup, this is probably the most lopsided one of the entire 16.
So Sid in 1991 shows up akin to the Sergeant Slaughter situation. There was a main event where Good Terry and the Ultimate Warrior were a tag team in a handicap match against the Triangle of Terror. Slaughter, Adnan, and Mustafa. The special guest referee is a debuting Sid Justice, who is, recently taking a sabbatical from being Sid Vicious in WCW. He's calling up north to get a bag.
And don't forget Memphis.
I mean, who could ever forget Memphis, man? Come on, man. Come on, Skinny. So, Big Memphis shows up, and to great fanfare.
Wait, he said Big Memphis shows up?
Big Memphis. Big Memphis, man. Shot the computer. So Big Memphis shows up to great fanfare.
Big Memphis.
He positions himself as an ally to Hogan, basically because of the way he called it down the middle during the whole situation. So then comes the aforementioned 1992 Royal Rumble, which, to be perfectly honest, probably still holds the top spot of best Royal Rumble of all time.
Star-studded action from top to bottom.
Man, listen, do you hear me? Greatest artwork ever, most star-studded Royal Rumble probably ever, best performance overall in the Royal Rumble.
One of the most iconic post-match promos ever.
Facts, with a tear in my eye. And there's a spot towards the end of the match where Hogan's being eliminated. Now, if you pay attention to the crowd, because this is something I didn't notice as a kid, as an adult, if you pay attention to the crowd, this is where the discontent with Hulk Hogan is growing. They don't want him anymore. They're starting to boo him to the point that Sid was already kind of over in WCW. Like his personality got over with people who wanted more violence. And we seem to be living in that loop over and over again. And Sid is who eliminated Hogan. The crowd cheered. There's some people who are shocked that Hogan didn't win because, like, Hogan must pose. He always wins. He gets eliminated. Half the crowd is celebratory. The other half is like kind of shocked. Hogan pulls a heel move and pulls Sid out from the outside, which sets up discontentment between the two of them, which goes on to a Saturday night's main event where they are lined up as tag team partners, and isn't it against Flair and the Undertaker?
Flair and Taker, yep.
And Sid does what most people do when they turn heel on a tag team partner. You just drop down off the apron and walked away.
Walk away. Yep. Throw your hands up.
You know what I'm saying? Left him. Now, of course, Hogan didn't take a pin. He didn't lose. But that's what happened. And that sets up their match at WrestleMania 8. So there's business being done. That was the first time that Hogan hinted about it being a retirement match. They even used that as part of the selling point. And to be perfectly honest, everybody was looking for Hogan Flair. So anything else was going to be a letdown. Of course, you know, Hogan didn't do the favors in his last match. You got the Ultimate Warrior back, which, you know, that because it's 92, you get a whole bunch of rumors that shouldn't be functioning around that time about the Ultimate Warrior. He just lost weight because he, you know, wasn't cycling.
And so did Hogan.
Everybody.
Noticeably.
Yes. Now, yeah, let's not let that go unsaid. This is in the midst of steroid trial, so everybody's getting smaller.
Now, I wasn't expecting you to go into that much detail, but I'm glad you brought up the Saturday night's main event because I got a question about that or a participant in that you mentioned in passing. I'll come back to that in a second.
All right.
Andre going to the Heenan family. Andre wanted to finally challenge for Hulk Hogan for the title because Bobby Heenan, man of high intelligent quotient as it relates to professional wrestling in the world, goes and gets the biggest threat to Hulk Hogan's title, which is his best friend and also the largest man in the world, who never got a title match, ever. And what a better way to piss off an angry ass giant than to tell him that you're my friend, we're not supposed to be fighting. As opposed to saying yes or no. Very political.
Please don't run down on me, homeboy. We supposed to be on the same side. I don't want no smoke.
This is before pay-per-views that were commonplace in the home. This is WrestleMania 3, the Silverdome, Pontiac, Michigan, 93,000 people. The alleged first time that Andre had been slammed. Of course, anybody who saw Mid-South wrestling or Tri-State at the time, back in the late 70s, early 80s, knew that it happened in Mid-South. Also, the people in Japan knew that it happened in Japan. Andre was very giving to the business, as he was. They called him boss. Whatever he said went. He knew what he was doing.
This wasn't their first match against each other, but again, you have a man who is presenting his product as though if it didn't happen here, it didn't happen.
Now, we know what happened with WrestleMania after Silverdome. We don't get big stadium shows if Silverdome wasn't the success that it was. Oh, by the way, Silverdome.
Brother.
Let's talk about those mini rings that carried the people from the back to the front that we never saw again.
My God,
one of the most iconic things to ever happen in professional wrestling. In fact,
well, no, we got them for 6. We got them at 3 and 6.
Okay, but it was so iconic at 3 that they made it mandatory for the arcade game that we never got at home.
Bruh,
that's crazy.
I need that to come back.
Before we go into this decision, I got a question for you about the ramifications and impact of the business.
Cool, because I've made my decision. But go ahead.
Sid goes to WCW. Goes to WWE from WCW.
Right.
Who replaced Sid?
In WCW?
Yes.
That's a great question. Vader?
No. Granted, it's around. So Sid went back to Memphis before he went to WWF. But Sid leaves WCW and is replaced by Mark Callis.
Nah, he's already in WWF at the time.
No. They're there at the same time, yes. But when Sid leaves WCW, he's replaced by Mark Callis because it was Sid and Dan Spivey as the Twin Towers, who was replaced by Mark Callis.
How long is Sid's Memphis run then? Because
Sid was back and forth. Memphis was home, so Sid was back and forth. Like when he wasn't humongous in Mid-South, he was in Memphis. When he went to go to WCW as Sid Vicious, and then he left, he went back to Memphis, and then he went to WWF again, or WWF the first time as Sid Justice, went back to Memphis, and then came back as Psycho Sid, went back to Memphis.
Because the reason I'm asking that is Sid is still in WCW for Halloween Havoc 90. He's in the main event against Sting.
He went back because he was managed by Teddy Long.
That's as the Skyscrapers. At this point, this is like he's a horseman at this time. Like
I forgot about the Horseman run.
This is after Sting wins the world title at Great American Bash 90. And then Sting's title defense against Sid is in October.
Gotcha.
November of the same year is when The Undertaker debuts at Survivor Series.
Right. So that's the correlation I was trying to make was Sid, because the contracts weren't guaranteed then, so people were like working on dates and handshake agreements. Was Sid leaving the catalyst for getting Mark Callis, aka Mark Calloway, aka The Undertaker, the shine that he needed in WCW to be noticed by WWF?
So my answer to that would be no. It's the catalyst that what brings Sting versus Vader.
All right. So because of that, Sid has to go bye-bye. We move Boss on to the next round. So now we are finally at our quarterfinal round. This is how we do it, broken pencil style.
Now we going lightning round. We've already explained who does what and why. We've given you some education, and now we are ready to execute at a high level.
Job well done, Swab. This is where the money. This is where the money and the magic happens right here.
Money round. Let's get it.
Let's get it. All right. Stone Cold WrestleMania X7 versus Bret Hart versus the world, except for Canada.
I'm gonna take Austin.
I got Austin as well. All right. Let's see here. Bam. All right. Rock 98, Mega Powers explode. Whatever. This is a rough one. This is a rough one.
Whoa. You put Austin over Bash at the Beach? No, sir.
No.
Absolutely not.
Did I?
Yes, you did.
Oh,
I'm glad you saw that on the screen.
Oh, I'm glad you saw that on the screen. Hold, please.
Oh, we almost did wrong.
We've done this before too, but at least now we have the tape.
we can right. We can fix it in real time.
Here we go. All right. So Bash at the Beach versus Bret versus the World. Yeah, we know that's one. That's easy.
Thank you. Bash, homeboy, baby Bash.
Yeah. That's all.
Sugar. Why you look so fly? moving on to the quarterfinals.
Hold, please. We get this right. All right, and then bam. There we go.
Yeah.
Bam. All right.
Good job.
Now we can talk some smack. Rock 98 versus Mega Powers imploding. We've already talked about the Mega Powers powering 3 WrestleManias and being the fuel for 2 companies for basically the end of one decade and the meat of another decade.
Pause. Rock's turn in 98 probably fuels. Now we said Mega Powers exploding culminates, 3 years of WrestleMania. The Rock turning in 98 probably pushes 4 because you get 15, 16, 17, and 18.
You're also now getting 40 and 41.
19 because you have the trilogy with Austin. You have the Fatal 4-Way at 16, which is WrestleMania 2000. You got Hogan versus Rock at 18. Then skip all these years forward. You got 40 and what's about to happen at 41.
Right.
Rock.
Absolutely. And we're not even talking about the first time, only time with him and Cena at Survivor Series that begot WrestleMania for 2 years.
See, I didn't count those either. So yeah, it's a whole lot of general talk. Like the Rock is probably a 7-star general if we count it.
If we count it, we can't count.
17.
Mr. McMahon versus the barbershop. I mean, it's safe to say with Mr. McMahon there is no HBK.
Yeah, I mean, I love the barbershop heel turn, but if we keeping it G, what Mr. McMahon went on to become as a character, even though it started to bleed into real life. I mean, come on, bro. Like that literally fed families. And that wasn't just a joke.
I mean, people didn't stop coming to matches because he was getting in trouble and paying out millions of dollars.
Yeet.
Seth turning on the Shield or Andre with the heinous?
Seth is what begot Tribal Chief, and for that reason,
we thank you,
Seth. Like Tribal Chief is literally a Mount Rushmore character. So yeah.
And at this point, I mean, even though Andre could be said to be thankful, or be thanked for the fact that we had things like 30, 31, 32.
It's the last days of Andre as an in-ring competitor. So it wasn't like mid 80s, early 80s, even late 70s Andre. It wasn't Afro Andre.
Right.
If Japan / Afro Andre was at WrestleMania 3, oh fam.
After this, Andre became a machine with a mask on.
He'd have snuffed Good Try Terry out. He'd have snuffed that star out on pay-per-view.
How many machines did we have in WWF? We had the Giant Machine, we had the Super Machine,
the vending machine.
We had Big Machine. So Haku, Andre,
Machine Gun Carl Anderson.
No, don't do this. Don't do this. Not on this one. That's for the regular show. That's not for the tournament.
Come on, fam. Right.
let me hit you the right way.
Pause. Absolutely not. I decline.
There you go. All right. Semifinals. Bash at the Beach, the birth of the NWO versus Rock 98. Rock 98 lasted the test of time. The NWO changed professional wrestling for a brief moment in time, but the NWO didn't even last longer than the company.
It's not necessarily that it changed it for a brief period of time. It changed the structure of the business forever. That's what started favored nation contracts.
Yes.
The effects of Hogan turning heel put another 10 years on his career. A career that was, like we just said, in 92, people were already getting tired of the red and yellow stuff. By the time 96 was around, it had happened again in the South. So the North had revolted against you already. Then you came down South and did the same shtick, and they had gotten tired of it. And 96 saved that man.
And I'm still reminded of the fact that we had to see Black Shirt and Jeans get Tri-Terry before the end of WCW.
Oh my God, that 1995 I'm fighting my darkness Hulk Hogan.
No, not that one. Horace Hogan is my cousin Hulk Hogan.
Ew. No, that's not okay at all. I'm good. Yeah, it's Bash at the Beach for me. It's historically monumental to a point that, look, fam,
the power of that heel turn still resonates today. It's being compared to one we're going to talk about here shortly.
All right.
McMahon versus Seth. Tribal Chief versus the boss of all bosses.
We're still living in the aftermath of Seth. Right now.
10 years later.
They're telling stories on television right now.
10 years later. 12 years later.
We're living in the aftermath of that chair shot. AEW is living in the aftermath of that chair shot.
Ooh.
You see what I'm saying?
Ooh. And what's crazy is this is the only reason I'm about to put this over Vince McMahon. McMahon will never be back in WWF or WWE.
And then there's that.
No. I'm not done. All three members of the Shield are still in their 30s.
That's crazy. They all got 10 years of TV time.
And they're all three still in their 30s.
That's insane.
Bruh.
Yeah, I mean.
All right. So here we go for almost all the marbles. Semifinals. Bash at the Beach, Seth and the Shield.
I'm about to shock the world here. And this is legitimately how I look at this. Bash at the Beach put another 10 years on Hogan's career.
He got guaranteed contracts and favorite nations clauses.
Favorite nations clauses, a whole lot of money being made.
It also killed the company.
Exactly. He only fed himself with this.
Ooh, there it is. There it is. There
Seth
it is.
turning on the Shield fed the entire company into perpetuity. They are living in the aftermath of Roman figuring it out.
Oh, and I'm sorry, that wasn't the semifinals. That was the finals. That was the championship round.
I knew what it was.
Oh, I no, because this threw me off. They actually have a third place.
That's that consolation joint. Yeah, we don't do NITs around here.
Yeah, the participation trophy.
We don't do those.
Yeah, they both lose.
But just for S's and giggles, if you were going to choose between those two, which would it be?
Hell, truth be told,
they're both the same guy.
it's the same. Yeah,
they're both the same guy.
Wait, who's the last man standing?
Wow. That's
how it's done. That's how it's done. That's broken pistol logic right there. That's how it's done.
So look, now it's bonus round time. We got an extra play in. Let me go ahead and take us back to where we started. Kaboom, guess who stepped in the room? Seth turning on the Shield versus the first ever heel turn of John Cena. Who you got?
You know, prisoner of the moment, when we can revisit this in a year.
Okay.
I would love, especially at Cena's age, I would love for him to say, screw everybody in professional wrestling. Screw what I said, because I'm not believable anymore. I told you, I told the world actually on this very show, we should not be rewarding bad behavior. Cena came back and said he was going to be a full-time performer for this entire year and disappeared. We tried to justify it on this show. He came back for the to basically the top of the year Royal Rumble. It basically said, forget the Royal Rumble. I'm declaring for the Elimination Chamber, and I'm going to win, and I'm going to claim. I'm going to go against Cody, and I'm going to get the world title at WrestleMania. Called this shot. Babe Ruth did. We on this show predicted this turn, and it happened.
Of course we did.
Cena post episode, post show, drops the mic for the only thing that he did not say, which is, well, he said a lot, but he said nothing at all. Picture's worth 1,000 words. He dropped the mic, walked out. That's 38 seconds was his walk in, drop the mic, and leave. But we only get, according to him, to the end of the year, and allegedly the last pay-per-view this year for WWE will be in Boston.
So this jug of milk has an expiration date.
Allegedly. I would love for him to pull a good Tri-Terry, a la the NWO, and add some more miles to the car by becoming a hybrid.
Interesting theory.
If he does that, if he backs down on his claim of retiring at the end of this year, like this is it for him, and he milks this heel turn for everything that it's worth, including random pop-ups, because at this point he is an attraction. He's not a talent. He's an attraction. I think
I see what you got going on. I see what you're doing.
I think he could get the edge on Seth turning on Roman Reigns or the Shield.
So essentially what we've done is we have picked the greatest heel turn ever based on the ripple effect. It's not just in the heel turn itself, it's what happens after. What I expect from this Cena heel turn is a lot of entertainment. If Cena becomes, because we've seen him do interviews about when it was supposed to happen. I think it was like 2012. Like, they were ready to do it, and it affected too much of the bottom line, so they said no.
Busted Open went years talking to its callers with the idea of the infamous CHT, Cena heel turn.
Right.
And at some point they had to put it to bed.
Right. So I feel like with this, because he's already laid out his game plan, he's like, I'm going to be the exact opposite of what I've always been. So I would expect to see gear change, music change. His conversation is going to be different, which if he starts acting like a spoiled, entitled superstar, that is going to be some of the most entertaining television you can possibly get, because you're not used to hearing it from him.
I don't want him to act. I want him to act an ass.
I have full faith that he is going to act the biggest of asses in this situation.
I have so much faith in this ass acting.
Pause.
That when the pre-sales go up for the closest show to my area, which will be in May, this Friday, I'm in. I'm dropping out for a TV side seat.
Essentially you tell me I get to see Cena's heel turn come through here on a parade, now I got to start, really having conversations.
Oh,
about,
you got one coming in a month, the week of Mania.
I want to say they're going to be here. Aren't they here before Mania?
All I know is April 25th, Fort Worth, Texas has a SmackDown. And
either way.
And 2 weeks later, if not the very next week later, they're going to be in Greensboro, North Carolina.
When they slide, I slide, just like that. So, the only caveat I do have on this to keep it from being the greatest of all time is the fact that there is an expiration date on it.
Allegedly.
We're speaking in ifs. Even if he continues the heel situation, it's not going to be to any level in 2026 to where you would depend on that character for anything other than spot dates, which means the big 4, big 5. And I don't see it going past 2026. Because it's a main event storyline. He's not going to work the undercard as a heel. This is literally for a season.
Yeah, he's not going for the U.S. title. He's not going for the Intercontinental title.
None of that.
He's not going for the NXT title.
None of that. He is here. He's here for the big paydays and the big moments. Big Match John is who you finna get. Because of that, we do know that this is finite. There is a expiration date on it, whether it's the end of 25 or sometime in 26.
What if we got more moves? What if he got rid of the 5-6 moves of Doom and went through a completely, like a whole different 5 or 6 moves of Doom that was a heel set?
You're probably not going to get any of the 5 moves of Doom anymore. And I kind of like the idea of him using something crazy like a kick to the groin as his finisher. Like, there's so many things he can do to make this memorable that I'm excited to actually see it. Here's the thing, though. Best case scenario, 2 years. And that's being super generous. It's really supposed to be the next 9 months.
9 months, right.
9 to 10 months. That's all you're supposed to get of this. We are still telling the story of the ripple effect of Seth turning on the Shield this year for WrestleMania.
Who haphazardly is included with this whole Cena turn.
So all I'm saying is, for as much as we give Kung Fu Panda a hard time, rightfully so in most cases, his heel turn has had a bigger and longer pause effect on the professional wrestling business that we see today than anybody before him.
Your champion for the greatest heel turn of all time, for those very reasons, Seth Rollins on the Shield. And that, people, is applied broken pencil logic. Show brokenpencilbc.com, brokenpencilbc@gmail.com. It's at brokenpencilbc on all things social, at brokenpencilbc on what?
Everything. and everything.
Suave, take him to the house.
Pencil pushers, like, rate, share, subscribe, tell a friend, tell that friend to tell a friend, and then tell that friend again. Heads up, pencils down.
Whole lot of fucking gang shit.
Cold ass show.
That's gonna turn out to be a hell of a piece of content.
That's a cold ass show, bruh.
Say,
that's a cold ass show, and I'm keeping a beam with you. I've had the wrong mic on roadcaster on the audition. It's only 3 minutes worth, so I can snag the first 3 minutes and bring it into this, and we got a full show.
There's no way you could have sat me down in front of that tournament and said, "Good try, Terry wasn't winning."
Same.
Like,
and you damn sure couldn't have sat me down and told me Seth was going to win.
I knew that would make it pretty deep into the conversation, but the way it got lined up was perfect because every first round match was like,
oh shit. My bad. What happened?
What jumped out the car?
No, it was the recording. It told me to view the recording.
Oh, yeah, like that's a hell of a show. Like we really used broken pencil logic and really took the fandom out of this shit and was like, hey, you got to look at it analytically. Like, look at the stats. It's not. We took it out of prisoner of the moment. Which is
very hard to do considering we basically had to predict a year just to get back to something that happened 12 years ago.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right, man. Well, shit. I'm about to lay it down, and then I guess we can put this up on Friday, and then do a whole show tomorrow. Wait, no. Do we want to can this, or we want to put this up this week?
I mean, it's.
Let's see what happens tomorrow.
I can live with that.
Yeah, so worst case scenario, this goes up Friday because we can't get shit done tomorrow. But we should still be good for tomorrow for a full show.
Indeed.
And I do have a surprise guest coming on in 2 weeks that you're gonna absolutely love. You're not ready for this.
You and fucking surprises.
Oh, this is not Petty Messiah, so don't even lean on it.
I mean, if it was, it'd be cool. But I'm just saying, you and surprises.
Yeah.
Yeah, you love to try to execute those on me. Pause. You still got about 30% that needs to upload, so hold for just a second.
Oh yeah, I ain't going nowhere. Yeah, I'm about to jump off the camera, but I'm gonna leave the screen up.
Okay, bet.
All right, man, go on.
Yes, sir.